Okay, so guys, welcome back. So we're going to continue our session. So today is our day 2 session, right? And the date is 18th of July 2024, and the timing is 9:10 p.m. IST. Guys, yesterday we started our day 1 session, right? And today we started with the day 2, and yesterday we had covered a lot of things. We covered basically regarding like why we are what is the thing which we are looking in a DevOps, right? And what exactly DevOps is all about, right? And we also try to understand with some analogies or the stories which I gave, right? So if you see, for example, like uh, we had something like an older approach and a new approach, right? So if you see it, if you remember this diagram, where is it actually? Yeah, day 1. If you see this picture, right? So yesterday we had saw right earlier, long before, right, how exactly the software delivery was happening. So because we are following some older approach, and today, like what happened, right? We are into a newer approach, right? Or we are into some modern approach where we need a faster delivery of the applications, right? So how we can do that actually by releasing by having a smaller releases, right, and doing a faster deployment. That's how we are able to achieve the faster way of deploying or faster way of releasing the application to our customer or to the market. So this is what DevOps is all about. So how fast you can able to deploy it, and when it comes to the feature wise, that you need not to provide all the features, right? You can give all the features in a smaller, in the smaller section. One feature at a time you can provide it, right? So that's what the DevOps is all about, right? So we just started with this, right? And what we're going to do today, or what is the today's agenda actually? So I will continue, guys, today. So today's topic or agenda, we will continue with our DevOps, right? Continue with DevOps discussion. A few more minutes I'm going to spend on that, on this, and we'll have a demo or understanding on the cloud also, right? What is the cloud is all about with cloud technology. And we will see, if time permits, we'll try to create an AWS account. Yesterday, as I said, right? AWS account. So this is very important. All of us should have an AWS account because we have to start working in the system, right? So we need some virtual machines. We need some virtual machines. So that's the reason. Either you can install, supposing that you have a laptop and you are having high configuration. What you can do that you can install either VMware, or else you can install some Oracle, VirtualBox, right? And later what I can do, you can create the VMs. And the VMs can be either Red Hat or CentOS or Ubuntu. Any VM you can create on top of this VMware or Oracle VirtualBox, and you can start working on it. You can start working with, you can start practicing. But in today's time, right, what is happening is that actually almost all the deployment, whatever we are developing the application or whatever we are deploying the application, everything is happening in the cloud itself. Without cloud, nothing works out. So it is better that you start practicing from the day 1 onwards in the cloud itself. So either you can go with the AWS, or you can go with the Azure, or you can go with GCP. Any cloud you can choose, and you can work on that. So what we need at the very beginning, that we need an understanding of the basic networking stuff we need to understand in cloud, and we need to understand like how to create a virtual machine and how to play around. It means that how we can log in, how to log in and execute some commands. This is what I need at this point of time, nothing more than that, right? For that, to achieve or to create a virtual machine and to play around with all the commands and learning all the concepts on the tools and technology in DevOps, right? We need certain virtual machine, and that we are going to get from our cloud actually. So you can go with AWS, Azure, or GCP. I will go with the AWS account. So initially we'll start with learning AWS. Later we will see in our session, like I'll be even showing you even in the Azure also. Yes. Right, Vasu? You already, if you have any, so guys, if you already have an account, so then it's not required. But some of them might not have the account. That's the reason I thought that I will show how to create an AWS account, right? How to create our new AWS account. So guys, right? You see, there's nothing wrong to have a virtualization software installed in your machine, like VMware, Oracle, VirtualBox. You can have that. You can play around that. So right, but what happened, right? Ultimately, at the end, right, you should start working on cloud. That is the actual requirement we have. So start using the cloud from the day one onwards. Correct. So now, so yesterday we had a we had discussed about what exactly DevOps is all about, right? And what would be the approach, right? So what we're going to learn today, we are going to learn, or we're going to continue with further many more things on the DevOps itself, because we have not yet completed the whole discussion about the DevOps, right? So as yesterday, as I said, right, we need to understand now what it takes to build a pipeline. So we need to understand, or we can say that, let's understand. Now, what it takes to build a pipeline, or build a pipeline. See, ultimately, what happened, guys? Whenever we see the DevOps in, right? So one of the important tasks what they do is that they build a pipeline. So what is this pipeline is all about? We will see today, right? So we need to build a pipeline. We need to know how exactly the pipeline works. What are the different components or the stages which comes in the pipeline? Those things we should have some fair amount of knowledge. We need to have it, right? So now, so before that, what happened? Before you start understanding about the pipeline. So usually what happened, guys? See, you see that whenever you have so many applications in the market, right? Say for example, you have an application. For example, I want to ask a question to you now. So guys, whenever you want to, suppose you want to order any food on the online, right? Which is the app you use it actually? Which are the most app which is used? Yeah, you can
Swiggy,
unmute and you can tell. Yeah,
Swiggy,
yeah, very good. Swiggy. Apart
Zomato,
from that,
Zomato,
Zomato. Okay, what else? Other things you have?
Uber Eats.
Yeah, Uber Eats or Ola Eats, or yeah, there are many apps have come, right? So you can order through any app and you will be able to get the food, right? You can order it. Now, similarly, suppose for example, if you want to book the movie ticket, so which is the app which you use it usually, like to book the ticket?
Book My Show,
Yeah. Or any other things? Any other app you have? Do you have any? Huh?
Paytm,
Correct. Yeah, through Paytm also can do, like for example, Inox is there's an app which is released by Inox or PVR Cinemas. Yeah, you can go through it, right? So similarly, even with like whenever you want to bus any book, right? Suppose you want to travel anywhere outside, whenever we book the bus, right? You will basically go either with Red Bus, or you will go with what else other apps are there, guys?
Abibus,
Yeah,
Abibus,
Abibus and Go IBO. So there are so many apps are there, right? But and also like for even for your booking up your like rented car something, or you want to travel, you can either go with the Ola or Uber, right? There are many apps, or apps are there, right? But usually what happened, right? All of us, right? We always try to make use of some of the apps very frequently. Say for example, we whenever we want to book the bus ticket, we'll go with the red bus. Whenever we want to book the movie, right, we go with the Book My Show. Or whenever you want to order food, we'll go with the Swiggy. Now the question that why most of the people frequently use this application or this app. There are many apps out there, right? Even they are also doing some decent business, right? It's not like that they are not being used. But still you see that most of the people prefer to use either Ola or Swiggy or whatever the app we have, right? So what is the reason actually? Can you tell me any reason? Why people are using only Swiggy? I mean, most of the time, Zomato also they use it, but you could see that 70 to 8% of the people around India, right? Yeah. So what happened, right? Yeah, I mean, people several reasons. People say that yeah, the app is good, it's user friendly, blah blah. Even Zomato is also user friendly, right? You will get all options. See, this Swiggy or Ola or Book My Show, right? These are some of the apps, or Redbus, right? These are the apps which first came to the market. Or this was the application which are first launched actually. So whenever we releases any application faster to the market, right, that always has a business edge. right? And you will be in competition actually, right? Several other apps might come later. So now what exactly the customer is, right? The customer always sees that how fast my application will be delivered to me, or how fast the app is going to deliver, or it will be delivered faster to the market. Why? Because to always gain the business edge and to earn the revenue, right? So that's the reason you could see that every day some of the other new apps are getting released. But you could see that the apps which were released very earlier, right? Those are the applications or the apps still exist, right? Like Swiggy or Zomato or Redbus, right? There are many other apps are there. You could see that there are many other travel apps came, right, to booking, right? Which came and which went off actually. They couldn't withstand the competition, right? Or they came very late, right? And they couldn't manage to sustain. So hence, no, people they didn't use it, and only you could see that Redbus or Abibus, they are still in use actually, right? So why? Because again, these apps came at the very beginning. They are the first who entered into this market, right? So that is what. So how faster you can deliver the application to the customer or to the market, how fast you can deliver, it's all depend upon the process we adopt in the companies, and that process is nothing but the DevOps process. So if you incorporate DevOps process at your work, right, you can able to do a faster deployment and deliver the application or the app faster to your customer, right? That's what we do it. And how we can achieve it, how we can do a faster deployment, or how we can achieve faster delivery of the product, because that always DevOps builds a pipeline. This is a reason actually. So this is required because that we need to do a complete automation work, right? In our software delivery lifecycle, we need to adopt a pipeline. Hence, a DevOps engineer has to write a pipeline for it. What is that pipeline and all? We will see it after some time. Right. So now, suppose assume that in my company we are developing some applications, right? We are developing an application. Like I need some developers. So we have some developers, right? So let me open the MS Paint. So let me go to the Google. Let me search for some clip art. So we have some developers. So let me take this as a developer. Right? We have some developers in our company, right? So say, for example, I have some 3 developers, right? Okay. And similarly, we have some testing engineers. So where are some testing engineers? So I'll take this image as a tester engineer. So this is a tester engineer. So similarly, we have some engineers, we call it as an operation engineer. So these are the operation engineers. So see, you could see that he's involved with so many systems, right? He'll be called as an operation engineer or DevOps engineer. Right? He's an operation engineer. So let me write. So he's a developer. Right? Developer. And these are the testers. And these are the ops engineer. We call it as an operation team, or we can call it an ops engineer. Right? Now, right. So now what happened, guys? Usually in an organization, developers and testers, or else the ops engineer, these 3 engineers are from different team. They are from different team. Always you will see there is a big barrier between the developers and the ops engineers. So there is a big barrier. There's a big barrier. Now what happened, right? Whenever developer is developing in an application or developer is working on to develop some features. So after the feature, whatever the feature which they want to develop, they have chosen some language to develop it, either Java or .NET or Node.js or AngularJS or whatever, or Python, whatever the language which they use it, they'll use that language to develop an application, right? Or the feature. And then what happened? That feature will be tested by the tester. And finally, once the testing is done, so, right, the package or the build will be given to the ops engineer, and the ops engineer, what he will do, he will go and he will deploy that application or that package into some server actually. More or less, those servers are always virtualized servers, right? So this is what it happens actually, right? Now, because that all these different teams are these different people or this different castes of people who are into the software industry, right? Caste means not like I'm saying about the Indian caste. Like in India, we have a lot of different castes, right? We have Hindu, Brahmins, Christian, and many other subcastes are there. I'm not talking about the caste. Caste is something in a software engineer where we have developer, testers, operation engineers, support team, documentation team, HR, right? Those we call the software castes actually. So we have different software caste people. So they are having their own teams actually, right? And always you will see in the real time in industry that they'll always be having a big differences between, or they'll be having a lot of barrier between these different team members actually, right? So what developer will always be thinking that how I can write more features or how I can come up with a more features actually. This is what the developer will always be thinking about whenever he's doing a software development. Now the same thing, what ops engineer will be thinking, he'll be thinking that how 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 much I can provide a stability to the environment. This is what the ops engineer will be thinking. So usually what happens, right? Ops engineer doesn't want more deployment because like if you're doing more deployment or if you're doing some deployment of the application which is not correct, so it might mess the server or it might mess the environment. Say for example, some build is given by the developer, right? If you try to deploy, if the ops engineer is deploying into the live production, if the live production goes down, right, then there's a big headache actually. And no, usually the option will get insane or they'll become mad because it is very difficult to fix for them, right? And it'll ruin their nights and all. So they want always the stability. So that's the reason you could see that actually that the option, right, they want very stable build. If there is some issue with the build, right, the option will never agree to do the deployment. So always you could see that there is a differences of the thought process, the thinking process, everything between the developer and the ops engineer. This is what it happens actually in the real time actually, right? Now, right? So now the agenda is that, guys, actually now what happened, because since this is a big difference there, now what they thought that later after some time they thought that let us shift this ops engineer into the same team where developer and testers are working. So what they do, right, they did something like a shift left. What is it? What they did, guys, they did something like a shift left. So what is shift left? They said instead of they being in a different teams, let us combine them in a single team itself. So this is what they did it later. So they made this ops engineer to become a part of the same team where developers or testers work. This is what it has happened now. This is what it has happened now. So you could see that the developers, testers, and the ops engineer team, they are part of the same team. So why they did this process or why there was a left shift? Because that for doing a faster deployment and for doing a faster deployment, achieve a faster deployment with smaller updates, right? For achieving this, they merged both this. That's what this word key DevOps was coined actually, because there is no barrier between the developers and the ops engineer now. So that's what we coined with the term known as a DevOps engineer. Yeah, early bug catching and all is fine. That's what earlier there was a differences. Now they shifted it, right? They made as one whole team, right? So that's the reason why, guys, most of the companies you could see that they are following a process of agile, right? We will be discussing about this agile process later, not now. I'll have a separate session on this where we will try to understand in the industry, like how exactly this agile process works. What are the different terminologies you have, and what is this Scrum Master, Scrum team, and what is this? What are these? What is? There are a lot of things are there which we follow in the agile process, right? All those things like stand-up meetings, like how to build a user story. There are, you have to know as a DevOps engineer, we have to know the whole process, because sometime in interview they might ask you like which process you're following, right? You will say that it's an agile process. So now they might ask you some questions, one or two questions related to the agile process, and they can even ask you that which are the tools which you use for doing it, for building or for writing user story, managing all the times, everything, right? For each and every different Scrum teams and all, right? They will ask you. So you can go, you will say that, sir, I was using the Jira tool or the Bugzilla tool or whatever the tool, right? Nowadays, people are using even Azure DevOps, right? And also like, what is it? ServiceNow to manage everything. So there are a lot of project management related softwares are available. So we use that software, or else even IBM, we use Confluences, right? For managing everything, for managing documentation, as well as creating user story, everything. A lot of tools are available. So that's what we will see about what exactly is the agile process after some time. Not now. So there was a left shift happen, guys, actually. This is what it happened. So what is the need for achieving a faster deployment with smaller updates? So it's not like that you have to release the whole features at a time. You can release it with the smaller features, right? So once in a week or once in a 2 weeks, we can release a smaller features to the customer and with a faster deployment. So how you can achieve with making all the team work together, okay, with some process which calls agile process. Clear? Now, so now what happened, right? Now you have to understand how exactly these pipelines are built, right? What is this pipelines all about? So what we'll see that, right? We know that the developers always develop the applications. So they work on developing some features, right? So these are the developers, right? So what they do that, they develop it. So usually what happened when they try to work on developing any application, they will do in their local laptop, right? Once they start writing a code in a local laptop, so ultimately what happened, they have to push the code or they have to maintain all the code into some source code versioning tool. So we have to have some tool, source code versioning tool, where they need to keep up all the code. So what we call it as a version control system, right? We call it as a version control system. Right. Earlier we had a lot of tools, right? Say for example, you have a IBM's clear case tool, right? Or else what else? We have a SVN tool, right? We have a Mercurial tool. Earlier we used to use a lot of tools, and nowadays what the tool which we are using mostly we're using the Git tool, right? So this is the tool which you are using. So now what happened, guys? So what the developer will do, developer will try to write the code in his local laptop, and finally he will push the code into the some source code versioning tool, which is Git actually. Now, after you push the code, what you have to do that, you have to take that code and you need to basically build, or you need to build a package actually. So you need to build a package, right? It is something like, for example, like suppose you say that, Rajesh, I want to install the Chrome, right? So what we do that, we try to download the .exe Chrome, right, from the Google, or as you can download the install manager of the Google Chrome, and if you do a double click on it, it will go and install it, right? So basically Google Chrome was written in C++. So when you are deploying or when you're installing, do you think that you have to know C++? Not required, right? So you don't have to know C++ because that whatever the EX is there, that is built in C++, no doubt. But when you're installing, you need not to, as an end user, you need not to know all those languages, right? So any build is given to you, you should know how to deploy it actually, right? So it's a simple process of deploying it. You do a double click and you will install it. So either you can use the term as installation, or either you use the term as a deployment. So usually in the DevOps or in this DevOps culture, right, or in the DevOps process, we always frequently use the word known as a deployment. Deployment is nothing but installation. That's what I have to learn, understand. Now what happened, right? So whenever we have the code into the Git, what we do, right, basically we try to do a build and package. Later we will see what are the, because when we write a code, when a developer writes a code, right, he can choose any language. So based on the organization requirement, right, or based on the customer's requirement, right, the developer might choose the Java language, or else he can use .NET, Node.js, Python, Go language. Any language he can use to build an application, right? Any language he can use to write application. Now, once you write an application, you need to basically compile the code, or you need to build it, or you need to create a package out of it. So either always usually in the industry, what happened, right? When you build a package, either it will be kind of a zip, .zip file, sometimes it could be a .tar, right? Or else you will get a ER, or else you will get a var. These are some kind of a extension of the build or the package what you are going to create it, right? All these things we will be discussing later, right? Most of the time you will see in the industry organization, right? You will be either building a ER or var file, right? When you're compiling or when you're building a Java application, you will always do it actually. When you're trying to build any kind of a .NET application, you will try to create a zip file, or whenever you're trying to build any other type of build, then you'll go with the .tar. We will be discussing all those things later. Right now, guys, when you build a package, right now, what happened? Can you give this build or the package directly to the customer and say that to install it and it'll work? No, right? Because that the customer or the clients trust us. It means that they see that whatever the application which you have built, right, there are no errors, or whatever the application which have been told to develop, it exactly works in the way. It means that they trust on your whatever the application which you have developed, right? They trust on you. So to make it working fine, right, you have to do the testing. So usually what happens, whatever the build or package you have did, right, you need to deploy into some kind of an environment. Usually what we do that, we have to create some environment, which we call it as a system testing environment. What is it? System testing environment. So you cannot directly give that build or the package direct to customer, right? You cannot do that. You have to first do a testing, because who knows, whatever your build, it might have a lot of bugs, right? So you have to do first testing, right? So for doing that, you need to first install into some environment. So there are a lot of environments are created in every organization. So it depends upon their requirement. Sometimes some organization might have 5 environments. Sometimes some companies have some 20 environments, different types of environment, or some companies might have only 2 or 3. It's all based on the project needs and the requirement, right? They will try to make sure that how many environments we require it, right? So that like that way, they have to create some kind of an environment. So what you will do that, you will have some system test environment. So what you're going to do that, you're going to take this build or package and you're going to install or build or install onto this environment. So now what happened, usually the tester comes into the picture, where the tester, what he will do, he will test the whole application in the system environment, and he's going to say that, okay, everything is working fine. Or if there is an issue, he's going to raise a bug on that. And that's how the life cycle of that development of that application happens, right? Because he's going to test it and he's going to give the feedback to the developer. Developer will fix it. Again, a build will be created. Again, the build will be installed. Again, he will test it. So he will try to test until there is no bug into that software, right? Until that time. And apart from so this testing, there are a lot of strategies are there, guys. So something like you'll have something as a performance testing, load testing, stress testing, some kind of a security. There are very different testing strategies are there, which the testers follow to test the application, right? We are not discussing that, but there are various testing are there. Like, for example, basic testing is there, operation test is there, stress testing is there, right? Security testing is there. Like that, even many testing strategies are there, right? So they will do it. And for it, so initially they might do manual testing. Later they will go with the automating, because they have to automate the whole testing process. So they might use some tool for automating. Say, for example, they might use a Selenium tool for doing a complete automation, right? When it comes to testing, the tester will write test cases and they will plug in the test cases in the Selenium tool, and they will kickstart the Selenium. Right? That test case, a Selenium test case, what will do, it will try to test the whole product, what is deployed into this environment, and it will give the report to you. And the same report will be shared to the developer to make sure that things are working fine, right? That's how the tester adopt the testing process. Apart from normal testing, as I said, that they might even do some performance testing, load testing also they will do. Many other testing is done. So once this is completed, what they do, right? They will try to have one more testing environment, which we call as a UAT. So just before pushing the code to a live server or to the production, they will have one more environment, which is called the UAT. They even call it as a pre-prod environment. Pre-prod, or they can even call it as a staging environment. You can name it anything, all are same. Pre-prod. Sorry, I think. Yeah. Right. So this is something like a final testing, which they do it actually into this environment, right? And this environment, UAT, we call it as it will be just the same replica, whatever you have in the production environment. Like, what are the configuration which you will find in production environment? The UAT will be more or less, it will be same replica of the same thing. Because before you push into the live customer, right? Before you push into the live server, or before you push into a production environment, you need to verify how exactly it works in UAT environment. Sometimes what happens when you're deploying it, when you're trying to do some testing and all, right, here you will try to introduce to your client, saying that you please come on and see how your product looks like, or how your application, whatever we have built, right, you just verify and you just give the feedback. So many times what happened in the organization, we even introduce the clients also when we are doing a deployment and UAT and trying to do some testing over here, right? So that's how this environment is. So from the system testing, there are many other testings are there, right? Many other environments are there, which I'm not covering. I'm just saying that after this, what we do that, we will go with the UAT environment. And finally, once the UAT environment, sometime in some of the organization, they even call it as a E2E, E2E environment, end-to-end, end-to-end, you say. So here also what happened, right? If your all your tests, everything get passed in the UAT environment, you are safe enough to sign off to say that, okay, whatever the build which is successfully running in this UAT environment, the same build version can be deployed even to the production server. So what they do that, finally, they're going to push or they're going to do a deployment to the live environment or to the production environment. Right? Guys, this is the whole process, what the DevOps engineer follows. This is nothing but this is like a, as I said, this is like a pipeline actually, which you are building. And you could see that there is a serial way of working. First, the code has to be pushed into the version control and then the build and package. And finally, it has to be deployed into the system test environment where the testing will happen. Once this is completed, you will try to test into the UAT environment or staging environment. So there is a serial way of the things which are happening. So that's what we call it as a pipeline. You cannot go directly from the version control to this because you have to build a package. Then only you can go ahead with doing with the next step actually. So there is a serial way of doing it actually. Right. Now the thing is that actually so whenever you want to do this process or whenever you want to build this process and you have to make sure the things are working fine, right? What is the method you need to adopt? What is the method that DevOps adopts or DevOps engineer adopts? So always, whenever you want to do it very quickly, very fast, right, you have to achieve, or you can only achieve with automation only. Automation is the only way through which actually you can able to achieve this complete pipeline process. Yeah, operations, right? Yeah, that's fine. See, operation testing is one of the testing strategy. And there are basic testing, operation testing is there, right? There are many different testing strategies are there. So some companies use that operation testing. For some other companies, for some other project requirement, it doesn't need. It's all depend upon their testing strategies. Again, what happened? The senior tester, architect or the lead, right? He will come up with a plan actually, right? So now you need to achieve some automation here, guys, actually. So to achieve some automation, what you do, right? And this whole process of whatever you're doing, right? From starting from the code, starting from the developer when he pushes the code and finally deploying. Starting from the code and finally deploying to the production environment, right? This whole process, we call it as a continuous deployment. It means that actually once the code is developed and once the code is pushed, you'll make sure that the pipeline will get executed. It automatically does the build activity. Once the build is done, it automatically pushes the build to the system test environment. All testing strategies, everything will be tested. And finally, the same build version will be pushed to the UAT environment or staging. Again, here some testing will happen. And finally, this will be deployed into the live server. So when you're achieving everything automatically, okay, right? Which this we call it as a continuous deployment. So usually what happened in the industry, right? In some of the organizations, say for example, in Facebook or else, where else? Why this is not coming? Right? This whole process of this whole process from here till here, right? This whole process, we call it as a continuous deployment. So you say that, Rajesh, if we are doing the complete build process up to the production environment, we call it as a continuous deployment. We call it as a continuous deployment, right? No, not every organization can do up to production environment. You see that many organizations doesn't do it, or else they don't have a practice of deploying a live, right? So they can't do the complete deployment because there is some problem when you're pushing into the production moment. You might need some approvals, you might need some stakeholder approvals, right? So there, what happened, right? You cannot achieve complete automation, right? But whereas the companies like Google or Facebook or many other companies are there, where what happened, right? Every day the continuous deployment will be keep happening because they surpass all those stuffs, and whatever they try to push the code into the source code versioning tool, that is Git, right? Once the code is pushed, finally they will see that that has been deployed in the production moment. So that's not what happened, right? They can achieve the faster way of deploying it because they have the complete process. But many organizations, you will see 90 to 95% organization, they are still not into this continuous deployment. Okay, so but you will see that some of the companies, what they'll do that, not some, many of the companies, like what they'll do that, they can achieve the deployment up to the UAT environment. So up to the UAT environment, they will try to achieve the complete deployment process. So this from here, from the time when you push the code into the Git till you deploy into your staging environment or the UAT environment, this we call it as a continuous delivery. What is it? We call it as a continuous delivery. So this is what most of the companies are adopting. Most of the customers, most of the companies are using, right? Whichever company you go, right, you will see that only you will be able to achieve up to continuous delivery. It means that you'll be deploying the build up to UAT environment only. Post that, the same build you have to push into the production means you need an approval. There is a process for doing that. Or else it might not happen daily. You have to do a live production deployment once in a week or twice in a week or once in a month. It's all depend upon the company, what strategy they follow it. Right? So you cannot achieve the complete. So hence what happened, most of the organization, they stick to this continuous deployment. Right? And this is one of the very important interview questions they ask. What is the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment? There's one more thing is there, known as a continuous integration. I will tell it later after some time, not now. Continuous integration. We will get this later. Right? Continuous integration. Right? So now you know the difference, right? Continuous delivery means up to UAT and continuous deployments up to the product. Correct, guys? Now, so this is your entire pipeline, as I said. And like, as I said, right, for deploying your, or for pushing the code into some source code versioning tool, most of the time we use always Git these days. So Git is an open source, and most of the companies, they have adopted the Git, right? And there is a big company by name GitHub, right? You know about the GitHub, and which was acquired by Microsoft company, right? So you will be using Git and GitHub. So as part of this course, right, we'll be learning how Git works and how Git and GitHub, how it works, right? That we're going to take it, right? And the next is a build and package. So here what happened, it's all depend upon the language which you choose it, right? So for example, your application is developed in Java, right? So whenever you want to do an automatic build, everything, right? We use some build tools actually. So what are those build tools? So you know very well that those builds are something like, we have a Maven build tool, right? We have a Maven. What else you have? If you're building any Java application, you have a Maven. If you're building any .NET application, we have MS Build. Yes. You have Gradle also. Yes. If you are building any, yeah, if you are building any Android-based application, we have a Gradle tool. Like that, there are many there. Suppose you are building any C or C++ based application, you have a make files, right? Make for C or C++ related build tools. I mean, when you're writing any application using this, so you have a build tool by name make. So as a part of this, like, we have to learn some build tools, right? So we need not to really like go in depth in learning build tool. It's all depend upon it's all depend upon what kind of an application which the developer is using. So the developer might use .NET. So in that case, you should understand how the MS build works. Sometime what happen, you might get into the company where you don't know anything about the Gradle, right? Maybe you might see that all the applications are developed, right? They are developed using the Android language, right? Or as through the Python. So you need to just understand like what is the build tool which you use and what are the commands which are used for building that application. That's all. You need not to go very in depth in each and every tool. That's not required. Okay. As part of our course, right, we will be learning the Maven and we'll be learning the MS Build actually. Right. So these are the two tools which we will be concentrating, right? So MS Build is for .NET. Then can you switch off your camera? Yeah, thank you. Sure. Clear? Now, guys, now after this, what happened, right? There is something like a system test environment. So what is the system test environment? Basically, you need to have some virtualized environment or the servers where we can go and deploy the application, right? So we need to have an environment where we can go and deploy it. So this is always, it will be a virtual servers where, like where we need to deploy it. Now the question comes, right? How we are going to have the virtual server? So now what happened, right? Yeah, make Ant, everything is there. Yes, Ram. Ant I'm not covering, but yeah, Ant is also there. I'll just give us when I teach about the Maven and all, at that time I'm going to explain about the Ant also. And and I'll show you how you can build a Java application using Ant also. Some companies are still using Ant build actually, but most of them are already migrated to the Maven tool. Right. So now what happened, guys? So now here the question comes, right? Like whether this is the environment we need to have. And as I said earlier, it is not like one environment will have. You'll have several environments. Usually in the companies, how the environment they'll have a dev environment, right? They have a test environment. Like they'll keep the name as test 1, test 2 environment, test 3 environment, right?
And NP QA.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, these naming conventions are different to different companies, right? And like this, and you have some stage environment, right? And finally you have some prod environment. These are some six. In between, you can even some companies we keep the name as a D8 environment, P8 environment, okay, MIX environment, like that. Some different naming convention they'll keep it. So all these are some kind of environments which they will be doing the testing, right? So dev environment basically used by the developer. So whenever they want to do any testing, right, they need their own separate environment. They call it dev environment. Similarly, whenever the testers want to do test the application, they need the builder to be deployed into the environment which they call it test environment. So under the test, you see that these are the environment which comes under the test. So testers usually choose this environment or they'll have their own environments. So 3 to 4 different environments they have because it depends upon the testing strategy. If they want to adopt different testing strategy, right, they will have a different environment. Sometime what happened, right, you will see that in the organization, they'll be having only one test environment, like something like test 1 or just say test. So it's all depend upon the application, guys. The way they have to build the application, the way they have, they come up with the testing strategy. It's all depend upon that. Only they will try to come up with some environments. So now somehow you need to build this environment. You need to create this environment. And who's going to create this environment again? The DevOps engineer or the support engineer has to create the environment, right? And do you think that this creation of this environment or creation of this service is a manual process? It's not, right? Today, everything is automated. So you need to even create an environment also, or you need to create a virtual server. Now the question comes right here. So once you have the package, once you have a build of the package, you have your package ready. After compiling the source code, you have this build and your package is there. Now the question comes after this build of the package. Now the question comes, do you have the environment? That means that do you have, are the servers are available? This is the question you'll ask. Are the servers available to deploy? So the answer could be yes or no. Anyone, right? Right. If it is no, if it is no, if it is no, you say that no, there are no server, no, there are no environments, right? If it is no, what you'll do that? You have to do a infra provisioning. What is it? You have to create or you have to create a servers actually, which we call it as a infra. So infra provisioning means you have to create a servers or you need to create a virtual servers. Or else we call it as an IAC, infrastructure as a code. And there are a lot of automation tools are there to achieve this, automatically creating a infrastructure actually. And those tools, you know very well that there are tools like Terraform. There's a tool like Pulumi, right? There are some other tools, like say, for example, you have a Pulumi. There are some tools like, what is it? In AWS, we have a cloud formation templating. In Azure, we have ARM templating, right? Like that way, we have various different tools or the provisioning infrastructure as a code tools are available. We have to use as part of our pipeline. So you will be calling, or if you're using a Terraform, you need to call a Terraform tool to create this environment or to create this server, right? Now, if you say Now, okay, if it is no, okay, fine, you have to create it, right? And if you say yes, if you say yes, it means that the environment is already there or the service is already there. Now the question comes, if you say yes, now what you're going to ask one question to it actually, whether whatever the build which you're doing, right, what are the applications you're building, whether is it a containerized technology or not, right? So you know that nowadays, like we are building all the applications, right? We are building as a microservices and we are creating a container. It means that we need to deploy into some container technology. The container technology can be either Docker or Rocket or Podman, any container technology. We have to deploy through some container. So if the server is already there, then the question comes. What is the next question comes, guys? Then it says that actually we have to ask the question that is it or is this is a container technology? Is it container technology? Guys, are you following it? Are you following what I'm saying? Is it a container technology? Sorry, my diagram is little bad. I'll try to improvise it. But just see that, is it a container technology? If you say yes, yes, it is a container technology, then what you have to do that, guys? You need to have something as a container orchestration. What? You need to have some container or orchestration. And that is nothing but how you can have a container orchestration by using the Kubernetes, right? Kubernetes is a container management, like container management tool, or the container orchestration tool is Kubernetes, right? We have many other tools are there. Like for example, you have Apache Mesos, we have a Docker Swarm, we have. Similarly, we have a tool known as a Kubernetes, which we usually use it. Correct. So now what happened, right? Once you have a build or once you have a package with you, now the question comes, are the servers are ready or is it available? If no, try to call the Terraform and create the infrastructure and finally build it. If you already have it, now the question comes at whether is it a containers or not. Yeah, EKS and all we will see later. Bhima, right, actually. Right. It could be your standalone Kubernetes environment, or it could be AKS, it could be EKS, anything it could be. If it is yes, it could be EKS, or it could be AKS, or it could be GK, or it could be your standalone Kubernetes environment. Anything it would be. So we are just checking whether if it is a containerized, then you have to do it. Right. Now what you're doing that directly when you are having a package, you're going to deploy that package. Either that package or whatever, it could be a microservice where you are deploying as a container. So in that case, what happens? You will try to deploy into the Kubernetes environment. If not, assume that they'll say, Rajesh, it is not a container technology. Then what? Then if not, or else if you say it is no, it is not a container technology, then you will understand, oh, okay, it is something like it is not a microservices. It could be a different application, or it could be something like a multiple application where you need to deploy it into some server. So to do a deployment to the some server, actually, we need another tool, which we call it as an Ansible, right? Ansible is nothing but it is a configuration management tool, right? So it's a configuration management, right? We need to have an Ansible as a tool which will do a deployment into the server, actually, right? So now what happened, right? So right, and you could see, guys, see, you might say, Rajesh, most of the companies are using Kubernetes itself, right? So I don't need it Ansible at all. It is not true, guys. There are many companies out there where they're not deploying as a container. Say, for example, in my previous organization, Lumen Technology, where I worked, right? It is not all applications are container applications. They all are standalone. We have to deploy into some virtualized server only. There, in that case, we need some kind of a deployment tool where you can deploy it. So Ansible is a configuration management tool which is used for doing the deployment activity. So now when you're joining any company, you are not aware what process they are using or what tools they are using, right? You should be really right. It's not like that you say that, Rajesh, I know only Kubernetes environment. I know how to deploy to Kubernetes. I don't know about Ansible. No, you cannot say no these days. Because when you join any new company, there could be different process. There could be different set of tools which are using. You have to start working on it. So there are many organizations are there where they're using Ansible as a tool for deployment. So as part of this course, you have to learn Ansible also. Ansible is also very important, right? In many of the companies, they're asking, they're asking people who have exclusively worked on Ansible. right? Yes. We also have serverless deployment nodes. Yeah, all those things. Yeah, sir, we are going to discuss it. I'm just telling you in a very high level. I'm just telling you from a 10,000 feet level how things works. Right. So now what happened, guys? In this diagram, what I want to stress here that we have a Terraform here. And Terraform is one of the very important tool which acts like a infrastructure as a code tool, which you use for infra provisioning actually. Now, as part of many of the project, when you're working, right, what you will do that you will create an infrastructure as well as what happened, right, with the same Terraform, what happened, right, you will also create the Kubernetes cluster also. Kubernetes environment also you will create it. So you could see that as a part of building a project, everything, right? Okay, what Terraform will do that? Terraform will create all resources. Like what Terraform will do? Terraform will create the networking or nothing but the networking it will set up. It also create the storage if you want any storage. Afterwards, it will create the virtual machine. And along with that, you say that Rajesh, I want to create even the Kubernetes environment also. It will also create it. So at a time, the Terraform can do everything. So here what happened, Terraform plays a very major role. Why? Because that you can deploy all these things on any cloud. You can either use a GCP cloud or AWS cloud or Azure cloud. Irrespective of any cloud, Terraform will work on every cloud. And that is what in today's time, right, people are, the companies are looking for. You need to have a very good knowledge on Terraform because that you can create an infrastructure on any cloud platform. So you should know how to create it. So it means that actually that you need to even create the whole Kubernetes environment also. Like either in AKS or EKS you have to set up. And finally, you have to do the deployment and all, right? All those things you need to take care through the Terraform code. So Terraform is an infra provisioning and it also used in many classes even as a deploying also. Suppose you want to deploy the application, even the Terraform code or the Terraform has a feature to deploy it. So that we call as a file provisioner. So we will discuss when it comes to Terraform. So what is file provisioner means? You can, after creating infrastructure, you can even do a deployment also of the application. You can push the code into that environment, right? So if it is not, if it is only containerized, if not containerized, then we use this answer, right? So Sandeep, you raised your hand, right? I requested yesterday itself that there is no need of any raising or putting any question. You directly, you can unmute and ask the question, guys.
Okay, Raj. So no, I have a very small question. Okay, so in my previous company, I was a part of DevOps team, so I was not a bit new in that team, so I didn't have much of experience. So they said, like that you're the DevOps guy, so you have to plan, or architect whole pipeline from start to end.
Hmm.
So how to design those things and let's say they ask that how much estimate what is the timeline which it will take for every thing to get delivered. So these kind of architecting questions. So how to find solution to these kinds of scenarios and all those things. So can you explain a bit of this if it is possible in
We will
today's
cover
or some
this
other?
part, Sandeep. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
question. We'll cover up it,
Okay.
but not now. We'll cover it after some time. See, usually
Okay.
what
Okay.
happened, right? All
Mm-hmm.
these kind of design, architect things are provided or given by an experienced person only. You cannot expect any person, a newbie person or a person who's having only 2-3 years of experience in DevOps, he cannot do the complete design because there are a lot of requirements are there. When he is designing, right, he will see, for example, when you are trying to do any kind of a deployment, whether it's a fresh deployment, it means that whether the code is developed, like whether the application is developed from the scratch itself, or else you're trying to migrate some already existing application. Say, for example, Swiggy, all this as Swiggy was deployed into the on-premises server only because, right, suddenly what happened, there was a need to migrate into the cloud, right? So what, whenever the customer comes up his requirement saying that, okay, I need to like migrate my Swiggy application from my on-premises to the Azure cloud or to the AWS cloud, right? So what happened? The architect designs, right? What should be the flow or what should be the steps we need to take the migrate. So there are two possibilities are there. Either he will say that whether you want to, write the whole code of the Swiggy scratch from into the cloud environment and then do the deployment, or else you have to do the complete migration of the existing application. Most of the time, what happened, right? Nobody will involved in trying to do everything from the scratch. They'll say that, hey, my application is already there in my on-premise, man. I have to just migrate it actually. That is what most of the customer will be looking for. So there are many things are there when you are migrating from the on-premise to the cloud environment, right? You need to consider a lot of parameters, right? What should be the networking? What should be the VPC? What should be the security groups, right? Many things you have to consider it. So for that, right, you need some ample experience, guys. You cannot make it somebody like 3 or 4 years experience. No, I see that the architects and all are more than 8+ years of experience. But still, I see in many of the organizations now, right, even newly joined DevOps, right, they expect some work to be played as an architect role. I don't know, for some reason they come up, because when you don't have that kind of an experience, you will definitely do a lot of mistakes actually, right? You will not have a complete concrete plan. You will not have. So things might get missed actually. You need always some kind of a support from some senior engineer or from senior architect actually. So to answer your question, we will come up when we are covering something on the cloud and mixture of this DevOps side. Then only we will be able to answer all those questions what you're asking. It makes sense, Sandeep?
Yeah, sure.
You cannot just give one-line definition or one-line information about this how you have to do. It all depend upon project to project. So the person who was involved in having a direct client interaction, right? See, now you're a DevOps engineer, right? They've asked you to come up with the plan or come up with some kind of a design document and all. Whether your company is going to allow you to interact with the client, are you the person who are the front face? No, right? If you're not interacting with the client, or if you're not interacting, how you can become an architect then? So architect is a person who is always constantly in touch with the customer. He knows all his requirement. He will come up his own design. He will share that design document even with the customers or the client. They'll have an interaction, and finally that design document will be shared within the teams and all. And he will come up with a plan, right? How exactly the DevOps engineer or the cloud engineer can start doing this migration activity. Now, since you are not involved in any customer or any client interaction, how they can expect you to come up with a design then? Right? So
Yeah,
this some nonsense is happening. I do understand this some nonsense are happening in the industry, but take it straight away, guys. Like you cannot really work on architect level if you don't have more experience in DevOps and cloud. No, you can't do it. It's not possible. You should have some very good knowledge. You should have involved in a lot of client interaction or custom interactions and all, right? Then only you would be called as an architect. For that, you should have more than 8+ or 10+ years of experience. Definitely. If I sharp enough, if you have already tackled all such things in your some previous organization, yeah, then you can become an architect, no doubt.
Yeah.
So these are some of the areas, guys, where we have to. These are some of the areas where like people are most like Terraform, containerization, and Kubernetes. This is what the combination which we need it actually from you. So whenever you're going for interview, you should see that these 3 technologies you should have very good knowledge: Terraform, container technology like Docker, and Kubernetes. Because most of the projects are revolving on these 3 tools only. So now coming back to this diagram, we'll come back here. Where is it? Yeah. So now we have a build tool and Maven tool. So here somewhere you need to introduce the Terraform tool now to create the infrastructure. And after that, if you come down here, you need to have the Kubernetes also, right? And it depends upon the containers. If it is not container, then use the Ansible. Right? Now, this is all fine. Okay. Now you say that, Rajesh, I'm being a DevOps engineer. I have deployed it. My work is done. Right? I have deployed it. So do you think that your work is done after deployment? No, right? Because at the end, what happened, right? You need to provide your application to the customer, right? Right? Customer has to face that application, right? He has to use that application, right? And 100%, right? Whenever the customer uses the application through the live environment, do you think that it's going to always work 100%? No, right? There will be a lot of failures also happens, right? Right? So what happened, right? Whenever you are seeing any kind of a failures, it could be system failure, it could be an application failure, right? You need to have some kind of a strong monitoring system so that you can monitor the whole process. For that reason, what happened, guys? You need to have a monitoring tool. You need to, for each and every stage, right? Let it be an infrastructure monitor, like server monitor, or let it be an application monitor, let it be an hardware monitor, anything, you need a strong monitoring tool. And this is very, very important concept, aspect in your complete dev pipeline, that you need to introduce some monitoring tool. There has to be a monitoring tool for everything. So at the very initial stage, when you start working on coming up with this pipeline, you'll also see that even the monitoring is also getting deployed as part of the pipeline, because you need to have a monitoring tool in place at the very beginning. Right. So so that's the reason what happened, guys. You, as I said yesterday, that the Google or the Facebook, right? Google particularly, I'm saying, they came up with something SRE, site reliability engineering. So why they came up with the concept? They are making sure that their application like Gmail or YouTube and all, they'll make sure that those applications are highly available for the end customer. 99.99% always available. Have you ever heard that YouTube is announcing that it will not be available for 2 hours? Did you got any email or message saying that Gmail will not be available for half an hour or 1 day, or sorry, half an hour or for a few hours, right? You have never heard of it actually. Why? Because they're using some best practices so that the application, whatever is running in the production live environment, it is always available. There is no downtime for that application at all. So how they build it with the help of a concept they call it SRE. Now SRE is nothing but it is a observability. We use this word as observability. Right? And for as a part of observability, which we call as an SRE also, site reliability engineer, we have to learn some monitoring tool, like for example, ELK, Elastic Lockstep Kibana, or you can call it as Elasticsearch, which we have to learn. As part of this course, we'll be learning Elasticsearch, as well as we'll be learning the Prometheus with Grafana. So these are some of the important tool which we'll be seeing it actually as part of this course. Right? So this is all fine, good. Now what happened, guys? There one more thing has come now. What has happened now? Apart from all these things, if you go back if you go to the one more step back, now everything is fine, everything is placed. Now you have deployed your application into your UAT, right? You have deployed everything into UAT. You are still not deployed to the production. Now what happened? There is one more set of people in the organization who are so-called as a security engineers, right? Who are so-called as a security engineers. Now they will say that, okay, man, like they will try to do some kind of a security aspect. Means they're going to do some kind of a security test aspect. So these are security engineers who do some kind of a security testing, what are the applications which are deployed or which are pushed to UAT, right? They will try to do a testing, and they will come up with saying that, hey, man, there's some flaw in the application, right? There are some vulnerabilities are there in application. You cannot do it, or you cannot release this product to the end customer because, right, there will be a lot of security threats would be there. So how he is able to do it? He is able to do with some kind of he will be using some security related tools for doing it, right? And he will come up with his own data, right? And it is very difficult to push it now. Sorry, it is very difficult now that at the end you are incorporating all your security related testing and all, right? So even that should not happen in the real time. So what they do, right? When they are doing initial development itself, the developer, and when they've already introduced or they've already took the ops engineer also as a part of the team, they'll also see that even the security engineer also will become a part of the team at the very early stage of the development of the feature or the application. Because as soon as the application is developed, any new feature is developed, it undergoes the testing. It has to undergo even the security testing. Once the security testing is completed, once they're certified, then only the ops engineer will go and will deploy it. Clear? So that is what we have seen this word as the DevSecOps. Yeah, penetration testing, there are many testings are there. We will see it. We will try to discuss it later. But what I'm saying that security aspect has become very vital now, because that you cannot give a product or the application to an end customer which has a lot of security vulnerabilities, right? You cannot give it actually. Maybe your customer might be some defense sector customers, right? Where you could see that you have to make sure those applications are highly secure. Nobody should be able to, hack that application. So, right, in that case, what happened? You have to do heavy security testing. So all those testing concepts like penetration testing, some kind of testings, a lot of other testings you do, right? So what happened, right? In case of a security testing, guys, there are so many tools are available, but most of the tools are proprietary tools. What? They all are proprietary tools. So you don't have any free version to test it actually. So that's the reason what happened, right? If you enter into industry, if you get into that work as a DevSecOps, then you will see that a lot of proprietary tools are in place or already in use. There you will try to learn how this tool works actually. But you will see there are some few tools are there which are open source. Say, for example, you have a tool which is used for doing security related testing into the Docker container, which we call as a Aqua company, IQ, Ivory or Trivy, sorry. Trivy is there, right? TRIVY. So we will be considering that as a part of this course, right? And what else we have? Any other tools, guys, which are something like open source? Say, for example, you have OWS Pad tool. What else you have? Sonar Cube. Yeah.
Trivy is there for the Docker container testing.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Aqua's Trivy.
Okay.
Sonar Cube is there. Like that, we will be exploring only a few tools which are open source, because we cannot go with no other product. They all are highly costly, and you need to follow the strict documentation, whatever it is provided by the tool. You have to follow the same way. That's how the tool works, right? Open source means you can explore anyway, but there are many appropriate tools are there which you need to follow the way it works actually. You cannot do any kind of alteration like that. You have to directly use the tool. You have to give some inputs to the tool, and that will give the output. That's all. So security plays a very vital role, right? That's what now we have something like DevSecOps. Yes. Right, Ram? Right. So now, once you introduce the security as a part of your team, now what you say that earlier you used to say that faster deployment with the smaller updates. Now you start saying that, what do you say? Faster and secure deployment. This is what we say. Secure deployment with smaller updates. Right? Right? Because now we added this word secure. In every stage, we need a security. Right? So that's the reason, like in this entire pipeline here, guys, apart from this, all this tool, right, you will be emphasized, or you will be introducing some kind of a security also here. Some kind of a security in your entire stage. In every stage of your pipeline, right, you have to include some kind of a security over here. It could be tool, or it could be some kind of a strategy which you'll be adopting. So when you're writing a pipeline, in every stage, when you're doing a Git, there also you'll introduce security. Okay, is there any, right? When you're building a package, you have to introduce some security. Similarly, when you're trying to do a build to push the code into some testing environment, there also you have to, is there any security vulnerabilities in that stage? But every stage of the pipeline, you are introducing this security related. So this is what the Devops Engineer DevSecOps does. And obviously, you'll even have the security even in your production also. Right? So guys, did you understood today's session, whatever we did till here? Any doubts you have? So as a part of all these things, we have to learn all these tools, guys. Okay. So now I thought I will cover up some of the demo on cloud. I think I will not be able to cover it up because we have to understand many things. Okay. So now, guys, so as part of this learning this DevOps, right, what should be a strategy? How you have to learn it actually? See, guys, we always believe on hands-on. Without hands-on, you will not learn. Only watching through concepts or videos, or you will never learn. You have to have a lot of hands-on actually. That is very much required. At every learning, whatever we learn, we have to have an hands-on. So to have a better hands-on, or if you have to have a hands-on, the prerequisite is always that you need to have Linux knowledge. Linux knowledge is a must actually. Now, as part of our course, what we're going to do that we have to learn. Initially, we have to learn the Linux command. Linux commands, Linux environment. First, you have to understand the Linux environment, and then you start learning the Linux command, and something about the shell, and something about how to write the shell script, execute it. So why we adopted shell scripting for automation purpose, and some basic networking related to Linux. So these are the things which we needed as part of the Linux. Right. So many of the people in our group, right, they know the Linux very well because they've been working the Linux for a long time. they have hands-on also. For them, for learning for them, it'll be very easy. But I see that I interacted with many other people. They said that they are very new to Linux and they don't know much about the Linux. So because we are having a combination of the people, right? So I need to make sure that we all are on the same page. It means that while teaching Linux also, I have to make sure that even people who already know Linux, right? For them also, this session should be little bit, it should be interesting for them. So I will try to cover ample number of sessions for Linux. There, if I feel like if I want to add some more extra things for the people who doesn't know or people who are freshers, right? I'll be having an additional session by next week. Like I might call you sometime. So just come for 1 or 2 hours every day and then just listen to it and then do the practice. So how you can able to learn Linux very well, guys? Only through hands-on. There's no other way. You have to do hands-on every day. So what I would expect that today is 18th, right? By next month, August 15th, you know, right? It's an Independence Day, right? For India, August 15th, right? You should learn something. You should be good in command line. At least in command line, you should be good. This is what I expect from you. It means that you should know how to log into the server and how to execute the commands. How to execute the command means you need to learn the commands, and also try to understand the output of the command. So once you execute any command, right, what would be the output? You need to understand that also. Clear? So this is what I expect from many of you. Now, some of you say that, Rajesh, what is this command is all about? See, command is something, suppose you say that, Rajesh, I know all these days, I know only Windows, because either Windows you know very well, right? Because people who says, I don't know Linux, right? Obviously, they would have worked on Windows only. So if you know that Windows also has a commands, right? So if you understand this Windows terminal, and if you have executed some command, say for example, I have a Chrome browser here, right, which is open. I want to close the whole Chrome browser. How you'll do? You'll just say PS, type it to something like where name, like something like this I will do. Because you know this commands, right? Like this, type it. If you're aware of this command, if I enter it, it is going to kill the whole browser. I don't know to kill it. I'm just saying if I execute this command, it is going to kill my whole browser, this Chrome browser. So if you know this one, for me, it is sufficient. Oh, it means that you already know something on Windows command. Same thing, same apply even on Linux also. Clear? This is what I expect from you. That's all. No other thing. Other things and all, I'll make you to learn. If you know that, okay, we have been executing commands even in Windows, same thing will be more or less same will be in Linux also. Yes. Then you'll be able to quickly learn Linux also. Am I clear on this, sir? Yes, Bhima will add it. Don't worry. Yes, I know you are also part of that, like, right? I will add it. Yeah. So now what happened, guys? There are so many things are there in Linux. I can't cover everything because our course, like we have a lot of topics, and if I want to give on Linux only, I need the whole 1 month of time to only make you learn on Linux. So that is not our agenda. Actually, our agenda is to learn DevOps tools, right? So there are so many list of tools are there which you have to learn. Now, what I'll be doing as part of our course, maybe I'm just guessing, like I might take around 6 sessions to make you comfortably feel working on Linux. That's what we said. And what I've thought, right? During our journey in learning DevOps, right? Because we'll be learning so many tools like Git, Jenkins, blah, blah, Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes, so many tools we're learning. Every tool I'll be using Linux. And whenever the Linux comes to the picture, I know that something I need to add. Apart from the topic, right? Say, for example, if I'm talking something on Kubernetes or Docker, I'll be conceptually explaining you. But whenever I see that, okay, I need to even introduce or I need to tell the Linux part also while explaining something, right? I'll even add out the Linux also. So when you're attending the session or when you're listening to a session, right, you'll be even indirectly learning even Linux also. So once you start learning or once you start having hands-on guides, you will be learning very well. Take it from me. Please start working or please start executing all the things, whatever you do in the class, right? Hands-on you do in the server, definitely you will see that you'll be able to learn it. And I will tell you one more thing, actually, very interesting, actually. There are many DevOps engineers are there in the organization, right? Who are working as a DevOps engineer and who are working on Linux platform or the Linux OSS or Linux VM. You know how they do the work, day-to-day work? Usually in an organization, they have some standard document. They open the document, they simply copy paste and execute it. I've seen many DevOps engineers doing that. And if I ask something to them, what this command does, oh my God, they doesn't know what it does actually. So what is happening that even today also, there are many DevOps engineers are there who are doing copy pasting business, copy and paste and execute it. If you ask them to triage it or to come up with some other command which gives the same output, they doesn't know anything. They're strictly following the documentation. It means that they have adapted to become. So you have seen that if DevOps is right, some DevOps, some developers say that, okay, this is what, man, you deploy it and you do it. What the DevOps engineer says, right, to the developer, can you please provide me a document on that? Or can you give me a screenshot where I will see and will do it? It means that he doesn't have even confidence that he can do it everything if he's given some instruction. He depends upon the developer's document. So that will not work out, guys. Going forward, it will not work out because developers will only give the instruction. He expect that you are very good at the system. So good at the system means you should be good at Linux, you should be good at command, you should be good at scripting because you have to do automation also. So initially you can target with learning the bash shell scripting. Later you have to go with the Python because you might write to automate any task by writing a shell scripting or the bash shell scripting. Suppose there is some automation task where you have written some 20 lines of code for that. 20 lines of code. 20 lines of shell scripts you have written or bash you have written. The same thing you can achieve by writing some 10 lines of code in Python. So such kind of a you can what I have to say that you can optimize the number of lines by using Python. So that is the power of Python what we are seeing. So people obviously like moving forward, all the DevOps and the cloud they all are learning Python and they all are doing everything automation through Python only. So ultimate the end, your motto is that you should learn Python actually. So not now, immediately, right? First, you need to do it. You need to first learn bash shell scripting, right? So as a part of this, as I said, I will be covering some ample number of sessions in Linux and rest other sessions or rest other concepts, guys. I would strictly recommend that please go to my channel. So if you go to the YouTube channel and if you search for my channel, Rajesh-Devops, right? And if you open my channel and if you go through the playlist, can you see here, advanced Linux shell scripting? There are 21 videos are there, guys. I have covered everything. So please go through this session. People who are very new to the DevOps, right? Please go through this DevOps foundation session. There are 5 sessions are there, which you need to complete it. And I'll be taking the Linux part. You should also start watching it. Why I'm telling it before itself? Because now you have a time. You can, without waiting for me to start, right? You can even start learning Linux by your own, right? So when you learn Linux through these videos, plus whatever I teach, right? So you can able to learn in a faster way. So what I'm trying to tell that before or this next month, 15th, I'm expecting you that you should complete this 21 videos. Then I can understand that, okay, you have the stamina or you have the guts to complete it. You are the right track. So Linux is the one which is foremost important, guys, and you have to complete it. Okay. Now the thing comes, right? How you can actually start learning this DevOps, the whole DevOps tools, or because there's a lot of things are there. Usually what happened, guys, people learn DevOps by implementing some projects actually. So there are many ways are there. So you have to learn the DevOps tools by implementing the project. But assume that you don't know anything on DevOps, right? You cannot learn through implementing projects actually, right? First, you need to learn the DevOps tools and then you can start implementing the projects. Suppose anybody is already having some basic knowledge on DevOps tools, right? They can start learning effectively everything by implementing the process. That's the best way you can do it actually. But what happened, how you can learn best way, what I say that first you need to learn in each and every individual tool, right? You have to learn each and every individual tool, okay? To some extent, like 40%, 50% you have to learn. And then what happened, right? In our class or in my class, what happened, right? When I'm explaining certain things, right? I might even give you some scenario. They say that, okay, this is a scenario which has been used in a real time, or this is what I face it. So we will be coming up with some scenario based actually. So what you need to do that, you need to understand, okay, Rajesh is giving some example of scenario. Why can't we apply or why can't we build a project on it? So when you're learning, say, for example, when you learn completely Jenkins, right? I might give some other scenario. Okay, we can even implement like this way also. So that is something like some kind of a scenario based or use case I have given it. So what should be a thought process that, okay, Rajesh has explained everything about how to write a declarative pipeline, how to write a freestyle project. Everything he has explained. He has did some project also. On top of it, he's giving some scenario based. Let me start working on a scenario. So you need to come up with the scenario and you should convert that scenario into the project. This is the best way of learning it. Scenario based project implementation, you have to do it actually. This is how even I was doing. This is how I got succeeded. Now what happened, right? Once you have learned the ample number of tools, say for example, you learned Git, you learned Terraform, you learned Jenkins, and you learned all those related Jenkins, Artifactory, Maven tool, JFrog, or Nexus Artifactory, all the things, right? You can build a project actually. You can build a project. Build a project which compromise minimum 3 tools actually. Say for example, Terraform, Git, and Jenkins. This is like a mini project which you have to do. So as part of our course, we will be doing this also. Right. Now you will say that, Rajesh, I'm very good in Terraform, or I'm very good in Terraform, very good in Jenkins, but I have to do deployment in Kubernetes. How I can write a pipeline? You cannot write it because you don't know anything on Kubernetes. What you can do that, you can write a pipeline up to where you can do every activity through Jenkins. From the Jenkins onwards, whatever you want to do the deployment with the Kubernetes, right? That remaining part of the pipeline, I will write it. Right? So that when we integrate these two parts, then you'll be able to understand the flow. After some time, what happened, that you will say that now I have learned Jenkins also, sorry, now I have learned Kubernetes also, right? Then I will say that, okay, write the complete pipeline. So what happened, as and when you're learning in a new tool, you need to think that how I can use this tool in the pipeline. This is your ultimate goal. Okay, guys. So I think you got the picture now. This is how you have to learn. First, you have to learn tool by tool. 30, 40, 50%, whatever is there, you have to learn in an effective way. And then you have to start thinking the scenario-based things, how I can do the implementation or how I can build any project if any scenario is given. And later what happened, how to integrate to the whole project. So you have to learn through the project base also. Now, the thing is that now as part of learning, we have seen many times that people, what to say, that people get confused actually which to learn, which to do, which to learn, which to leave, or that like that, right? So what I would suggest, right, please always concentrate on learning only one tool at a time. Don't don't mix up learning 2, 3 tools, and you cannot learn it. Our mind is doesn't have so much capability to learn multiple things at a time. It's not possible. So if you're starting with a Git actually, right, please learn only Git. Now, whenever you're learning Git, right, you need to first set up your goal. Set your goal. Set your goal means you need to always that, or you need to set a goal that how many days I need to complete this Git. So if you think that, okay, it'll take 15 days, okay, you have to complete 15 days. You have to complete everything in 15 days. Sometimes you'll not be able to achieve onto the 15 days. So then what happens? You have to extend up to 18 days. 18 days. So it means that max by 18 days, you should be able to complete the whole Git. But actually, to be very frank, Git will not take that much. You can able to complete everything in the Git in just 7 days, in just 1 week. This is the actual time. But we are giving liberty because you are very new, right? We are giving one more extra week, 15 days. And then like on top of that, again, 3 more days we are giving. This is the goal you have to set, guys, like this. So when you're learning Git, nothing apart from Git, you should not do anything. This compromise everything. You need to learn about the Git command. You need to learn about all the different stage of the Git, right? And all commands, all conceptual commands, how to do, what is Git staging, Git reverse, fast forwarding, cherry pick, all those concepts you have to learn. And you have to even learn the GitHub also, like that, in 15 days. Once you're completing the Git, then you can take any tool. Say, for example, next you are saying Docker, right? You need to set the agenda. Okay, Rajesh, in next 1 month, I'm going to complete a Docker. 1 month. So you need to only do or only study Docker. Nothing apart from, now you shouldn't do anything, guys. Nothing apart from Docker. Right? Only Docker you have to study. Once you complete the Docker in 1 month, it is good enough. Then you can concentrate or you can go with Kubernetes. Kubernetes, you need to give some little more time. Say like 45 days you have to give it. It's too much, but still I'm giving 45 days. Again, the same story. You shouldn't. Now, when you're learning Kubernetes, you should not think about Terraform. You should not think about Docker. You should not think about Git. You should not think about Jenkins. Don't think about any other tool because it will distract your studies actually. You have to only think about Kubernetes only. This is how you have to do it, because you said that you are going to take 6 months time to complete, right? So how we are going to do means take one tool at a time and concentrate on that. That's all. Clear, guys? So this is what there are many other things are there which I'm going to tell, but already we have run out of the time. So I'm going to stop the session today. And what we're going to do today, tomorrow, I have to start with the demo on cloud. But right now I'm going to park aside because I don't know to I go with the cloud. Now what we're going to do tomorrow is that we'll go with creating tomorrow's agenda. We have to create a AWS account and start learning Linux from tomorrow onward. This is our main topic, guys, tomorrow. Clear? Okay, guys. So before stopping or before winding up, let me know if you have any questions. So did you understood, guys, what should be our agenda? You have to set some goals now, right? And how you can achieve all these things, guys. For some time, please move away from all your social media, Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, all those things. I want to tell you honestly, guys, I want to tell you one thing. From my mobile, right, I have removed the Facebook, Instagram. Anyway, I don't use Instagram. I have removed all the things. I have kept only WhatsApp, actually, because I know that the Facebook or Instagram or whatever the social app, it is going to distract me. And I'll not be able to achieve delivering this training because it will distract me, definitely. If I start scrolling the reels, right, some Indians or some people are there, who will spend 4-5 hours in doing that scrolling of that Instagram. And nowadays, that people, why they're behind watching the Instagram, very well, right? People watch us madly. So it will kill your time, actually. So if you're away from all the social media apps, right, or away from the social media, all these things, right, then you'll be able to concentrate on updating yourself. So this is what my humble request, that keep away aside all these things, give time to studies, give time to your family, okay, do all the activity, right, do all your work, everything, and finally give some time for your updation also. If you're constantly doing for next 6 to 7 months or 6 to 8 months, definitely you'll land up with good job. Yeah, good only, Beam. WhatsApp, we need to have WhatsApp. We don't have any choice because we all communicate through WhatsApp. That is there. YouTube, by default, it comes. You can even still avoid also. You can even hide it also if you want it. So I have hidden everything, guys. Nothing is there in my mobile. It's a plain, only WhatsApp is there. Right. So, okay, guys, I think we can stop the session. Let me stop the recording. Then we can have your question answers if you have anything. Let me stop the recording.